Welcome to Lights Camera Barstool, episode 92. Today we will be having Jeff on maybe a little bit later on for Succession. He had a little bit of an emergency to tend to. Was it dozen related? I forget.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, wait, no, was it an Apple store? Another one?
His ass is sore, but I can't comment on whether or not it's the Apple store again or...
Getting fucked by the dozen. He fell straight down. It's... If you've ever been to that Apple store location in Chelsea, it's one of the funniest. Like or even the one in Lincoln Center, it's incredible. The stairs are huge and they are hard and they're slippery and they're like a spiral. You know, like with a spiral staircase, sometimes like the stair gets smaller and narrower the closer it gets to the pillar that supports it. Like it is so narrow. Like unless you're all the way out on the side of the staircase, like you have no room. You have maybe 1/4 of your shoe hitting a stair.
What I think about is I just think about how like when you go into an Apple store, the Apple geniuses, you get a very judgmental vibe from them. So I can't imagine just falling on my ass down 20 steps right in front of them.
My girlfriend fucking owned one of those genius guys. One of the last times we went because she saw on TikTok about how like iPad or AirPod Generation 2s like are having some malfunction thing. And so she comes in and is like, yeah, like I've been having this malfunction. And the guy's like, yeah, you probably saw on TikTok that you were having it, but only like 1% of people who have AirPod Gen 2s, like it actually happens to them. And then he takes it back. He gave her the biggest fucking toot in the world. And then he comes back and he's like, yeah, so you have that malfunction. We're going to have to give you a new one. And I felt so goddamn satisfied. It was incredible. She owned his ass. But anyway, this episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. All right, let's talk about Rocket Money. Do you know how much money you're spending on subscriptions every month? Not a lot of Americans do. Well, you know what? You need Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower all of your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions that they forgot about, and chances are you're one of them. Like that Stars app that you got just to watch one show or a free gaming trial that you never actually used. Rocket Money will quickly and easily find your subscriptions for you. And if any that you don't want to pay for anymore, just hit cancel. And then Rocket Money will cancel it for you. It's that easy. Rocket Money also helps you find and manage all of your finances in one place and automatically categorize your expenses so that you can easily track your budget in real time. And you can get alerted if anything looks off. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money and saving the average person up to $720 per year. I used Rocket Money, helped me find a Microsoft subscription for Xbox that I haven't been using since 2014, something like that. Help me cancel it. I was losing like $16 a month. It's kind of embarrassing in retrospect, but I didn't want to have to deal with all the customer service, and Rocket Money does all that stuff for you. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lights. That's rocketmoney.com/lights. rocketmoney.com/lights. Thank you to Rocket Money. All right, we're going to start out. We have a lot of news to get to, and we'll be getting to more because a lot of trailers are going to come out during the week. So we'll touch on a lot of that in the Friday episode. We'll have Jeff back on the Friday episode as well. We have, first off, the Secret Invasion trailer, series from Kyle Bradstreet, the writer and producer who was a writer and producer on Mr. Robot. Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, Emilia Clarke, Olivia Colman, big cast. Looks interesting. Like a lot of like, I would say like heavier hitters on that cast list. Trailer was interesting. Something we always talk about with Marvel is how the smaller scale stuff is kind of where they seem to excel more. Like the further they get away from needing a massive lot in Atlanta to blow shit up on a green screen, it seems like they get to, I don't know, spread their wings a little bit more, which is weird because like the smaller they get, the more things kind of broaden up. So they kind of like the trailer. I don't know. I thought it was cool. I don't have much else to say on it.
Yeah, it's a great trailer, but the track record with these Disney Plus series just isn't great for Marvel. So like, how excited can I possibly get? And I hate the immediate comparisons online where, Major Winter Soldier vibes. It's like, if you set the bar there, buddy, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah.
Like it could end up being good. I think there's a good shot it could end up being pretty solid, but it's not going to be that. It just won't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I completely forgot that this was in existence until like yesterday when I saw the trailer. Unreal cast. I mean, that is bizarre. Though I feel like that's happened a lot with Marvel lately, where they've been pulling some people you wouldn't expect. So, yeah, I'm with Gooch. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. Maybe it's good. You know, Marvel's issue isn't that they don't know how to market something. So yeah, we'll see. It's a toss up for me.
It is smart to say, like Winter Soldier vibes. It's like, hey, there's no big superhero, and there's Samuel L. Jackson's like, well, yeah, that's kind of like just
right.
The main, that's like the patty of the Winter Soldier burger. But yeah, that's way too high of a part.
When is that coming out in June?
I think so. Yeah.
What is that going to lead into? What is the Marvel film slate looking like?
I don't know. They're firing everybody over there. Like everyone's getting canned into Marvel. Like I don't know if that's like their way of trying to like get people maybe public trust back. Like, hey, we're doing shit in a different direction. But I don't know. I'm kind of excited about that part at least.
Yeah, you excited about people losing their jobs?
I love that, dude.
Man, capitalist Ken Jack.
That was one of the funniest things. Yesterday, I was reading about how Roku lost. Like, they had to like slash whatever 6% of their workforce or something. And all I could think about is how they bought Roku's library or Quibi's library.
Yeah.
Quibi, one of the worst content libraries that has ever existed. They spent millions of dollars to acquire that library. Chrissy's Court and the Chance the Rapper Punked and like just some of the worst. Do you remember the one where it was Travis Fimmel? I don't know, whatever, the Australian dude, and Rachel Beal. Who's the Miss Maisel? Rachel.
Oh, that's Rachel Brosnahan,
not Beelson. Now
Rachel
because we were talking about
Rachel Bilson from the OC.
Rachel Bilson.
But yeah, there's the Brosnahan show, and she had like a robotic arm or something.
What?
Like it was they had so many bad shows at Quibi.
See, I only remember them because if you have a Roku, you end up in Roku City if you go inactive long enough, which is just a delightful experience. Roku City is amazing. But they will like have billboards in the background as it scrolls across, and the billboards will have like that Chance the Rapper show, like Chrissy's Court, like. You just be like, what the fuck is this, Roku? What are you doing?
Millions of dollars on that, and then they have to like people actually lose their jobs because that money isn't there. Like that's insane. Although it would have been spent, whatever, it doesn't matter. Next thing was the Asteroid City trailer, Wes Anderson's next big movie. I think we all were pretty bummed out with the whatever Times, whatever. What the fuck was that last movie?
The French Dispatch.
Yeah, the French Dispatch. That one is. That was a bummer. We were kind of split on Isle of Dogs from what I remember. Me, Jeff, and Trill. But the last one, I think we all pretty much agree on not too great. But this one looks. I mean, it looks very Wes Anderson-y. 1955, students and parents from across the country gather for a scholarly competition, rest, recreation, comedy, drama, and romance at the Junior Stargazer Convention held in a fictional American desert town. As usual, the cast is massive. They led off with Jason Schwartzman, which, like, yeah, he's the main character, but, like, come on. Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks, Jeffrey Wright, Tilda Swinton, Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton. Big surprise so far. I'm sure all these members. Adrian Brody, Liev Schreiber, Stephen Park, Rupert Friend, Maya Hawke, Steve Carell, Matt Dillon, Hong Chow, Willem Dafoe, Margot Robbie.
Wow.
Who else?
White cast.
Tony Rever, Jeff Goldblum, yes. Sophia Lillis, Fisher Stevens, who we talked to pretty recent. Actually, that was like 3 years ago now. Rita Wilson, Jarvis Cocker, and Bob Balaban. I don't know who those last guys are, but they just seem like they had wiki pages. They had links, so I said their names. But yeah, so that's the big ass cast as usual. Trailer was like very Wes Anderson-y. I like watching Wes Anderson movies sometimes because they're just like it's like watching like I don't know Rob who's the paint. I'm like brain
Bob
is on
Ross.
0% because
You're thinking Bob Ross.
Yeah, just as a little behind the scenes thing. I figured out I was hosting about 2 seconds before we started, so my brain's on about 0% after scrambling to put all this shit together. So yeah, it's very Bob Rossi to me, where it's just like it's aesthetically pleasing, turns my brain off, don't have to think too hard. It's just fun to watch. But Gooch,
This will shock people, but I am not a big Wes Anderson fan. I can respect his movies for being charming, and it's not like they're poorly written or anything like that. It's just the entire vibe just does not work for me. My favorite out of all of his is the Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is not even live action. This is incredibly white, as per usual. It's like, and also just bright ass movie. It's like he figured out back in 2012. He found out about Instagram filters, like the CN filter, and he has just been hooked on them ever since. I don't think this particularly looks great. Like I don't like that filter at all. But it could end up being good. I don't have high hopes for it. I don't know. So, this is one of those ones where it's like just too big of a cast almost. That's what happened with Isle of Dogs too, though, where like you look at that cast list and it's massive, and then the movie was really just Bryan Cranston and the new kid that was voicing the Japanese kid in the movie. Yeah, and that was it. Like the other people had like 2 lines each. I actually kind of liked Isle of Dogs, especially the sushi scene. Yeah, where you talking about Wes Anderson loving white shit. Like he just had the white savior come in at the last second and make sushi. God damn it, Wes. Chris, I'm curious if you're a Wes Anderson fan. I don't think we ever talked about him.
I'm closer to Gooch. on this one where I really appreciate him as a director, and I appreciate the fact that he has a very distinct style. He clearly puts a ton of effort into his movies, but yeah, I don't know, the whole like just we're going to turn the quirky meter up to 11 with every single one of his characters just wears a little bit thin. I think that this will be about par for the course. Like, I think it'll be a very well made movie. I think that it will, have a clear style to it. Obviously, good cast, good acting, but I don't get much emotional connection to his movies. Like, they're they just kind of go through you. So, but I don't know. Maybe this one will be different.
To me, he's like Quentin Tarantino's chaotic evil. He's chaotic good. You know what I mean? I feel like they're flip sides of the same coin.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, Wes Anderson wants to say it. He wants to say it so bad. He knows he can't.
He does.
He wants to say that word more than anything in the entire world. If he could weasel it into one of his movies, he'd say it. You better believe it. But he can't.
I also feel like he makes a type of movie for a type of person that really doesn't exist anymore. Like, he makes movies for the 2012 hipster with the combat boots and the fake mustache.
Oh my
and the
God! Wow.
friends. Like, that is the Wes Anderson target audience.
That's a good point.
That man is I don't know what he does now. He's married and has a mortgage and probably hates his life. But yeah, that guy just doesn't exist anymore. And I feel like that's the Wes Anderson crowd.
That guy's dating a 19-year-old with a rose emoji in her bio right now. That's what that dude's up to. But yeah, that guy, that's a good point. Because I feel like at the same time, like, that vibe maybe has shifted. But his like movies are always very like artistic, sure, but they are just like beautiful to look at, I think, and like the way he really loves obviously symmetry. I always just kind of enjoy that. I like his music. I think he's a Splat guy, right? If I remember correctly, as far as like his composer that he uses. But yeah, I always like his music in it. It's always fun to watch. But again, it's more like Bob Rossi to me than like I'm watching Spielberg waiting for something insane or like Chazelle or whatever, expecting some crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
If someone told me their favorite director was Wes Anderson, I'd shove him in a locker.
We always ask too what he smells like. They always say he smells good. I feel like that's answer.
Shocking. I'm waiting for someone to be honest about it because I know he doesn't smell good.
Sandalwood, I think one person said.
I feel like he's got to use organic soap
like
and organic deodorant.
Dr. Bronner's or whatever.
And those people smell disgusting.
Dr. Bronner's, I feel like it doesn't work. Like, I know it's organic and all that shit. Every single time I put it on, I feel like it's the thinnest layer of clean that's ever existed.
I'm just thinking about hanging out with Wes Anderson now. Go to a bar. He'd be like Connor from last night's episode. What is the common man?
Do you have a Hofbrau Hefeweiser or something?
And not Hogarden. Fuck you, Wes Anderson.
Next trailer we had was Elements. I put Elementals, and that's not right.
That is definitely the title, Elemental.
Yeah, wait. Before I make a fool of myself on this, because I wrote Elementals. It is Elemental. Okay. I wrote Elementals, which sounds like a Marvel thing or something like that.
Oh, it sounds like the Eternals.
Yeah, exactly. Peter Son, who directed The Good Dinosaur and obviously does a lot of other Pixar stuff, directing this. A city where fire, water, and land and air residents live together. A fiery young woman with a go-with-the-flow guy are about to discover something elemental, how much they actually have in common. So I do like the immediate Avatar thought when you just read all the elements. It's like, yeah, sure, that makes sense. And then it says it's morally back. This is interracial marriage, I guess. The Pixar movie. Like, do they know that that's allowed now?
I didn't think about it.
It's been legal for 70 years, guys. It's
look who's coming to dinner. It's the fucking fire. It's the flame emoji.
You got a little water guy moving in next door. There goes the fucking neighborhood. Like that. It feels like a movie that should have been made a way long time ago. Like,
I like the water guys. I just don't want them dating my daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
He's one of the good water guys.
Yeah, the good. It's just weird, that vibe of it, where it's just like, this is the baseline message of this is like that is just too old. But like as far as Pixar stuff goes, I feel like they have like a near 100% hit rate, so it's probably going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought, oh wow, Pixar's doing a rom-com, so I immediately was like, oh yeah, no, I'm into it. I saw some people being like unoriginal. I was like, well, most children's movies are pretty simple storylines, and I think for as good as Soul was, I think it missed the mark on what makes a kids movie great, because that was not a kids movie at all.
Yeah, that was the one issue I had with that movie too.
It's a good movie. It's just like watched it with my niece, and I think she was 4 or 5 at the time. She fucking hated it.
This is more Inside Out vibes to me. If I had to pick one.
Yeah, less of a existential crisis mode. Pixar. We need to get away from that. Get back to make a movie for children. And it looks fantastic. The animation is, gorgeous. What else do you expect from Pixar? It's jaw dropping. It's world class and industry standard. They're really it's every time you think they can't get better at it, they find a new way to invent new like creatures and new animals and new ways to kind of flex their muscles on it.
I still remember when they showed the I think it was Incredibles 2, like the fibers on Mr. Incredible's sweater. Like shit's just crazy.
Or the hair and soul.
Yes,
because people could never figure out how to do black people's hair in animation, and they just nailed it.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's happened. Well, I know what's happened, but it seems like over the last 6-7 years, animated movies have really hammered home the social commentary stuff, and sometimes that works. Like with something like Zootopia, I feel like for the most part, people were happy with. But then like something like Turning Red, which I thought was okay, but kind of just fucking awkward. That wasn't political commentary, but it was just a bit bizarre. And then look, so I think like the heart's clearly in the right place, but I'm kind of with you, Kenjack, and it's been the issue I've had with some recent Pixar movies just in general, regardless of commentary. The idea feels a little dated. Like I feel like they've been a bit behind with some of their ideas, because Pixar for the longest time was like so ahead of the curve with everything. And I feel like lately they've been a little bit more generic with their premises. Maybe that changes, the movie's going to look beautiful. But they're not what they used to be, Pixar. But they also had a historic run for like 15 years.
The Turning Red Five-Town song, though, very good. I think about that song all the time.
Is that the little boy band? The boy band song? Yeah, that was good.
Legitimately great banger. It was a great song.
Did that go into theaters?
I think it did, yeah. I think I definitely didn't watch it in the theater.
No, I definitely watched it at home, but I can't remember if it did release in theaters. Will this be the first Pixar release in theaters in like 4 years?
It's a good question, because Soul wasn't.
When was the last Pixar release in theaters, now that I think about it? Was it Toy Story 4?
Probably. Yeah, Toy Story 4 was definitely pre-COVID, so that would make sense.
Wow.
It's been a while.
Now they got Toy Story 5 coming, thank God.
I know, and that whole division of Disney almost quit.
Yeah, I know.
They were done with Disney.
That's Elementals. Clayface will reportedly be in Batman 2. I didn't know what this was. This is something Goochman added in, thinking everyone knows who Clayface is.
Wait,
I don't know who Clayface
really?
is. I looked at him and I'm like, this guy looks like a human diarrhea.
There's different interpretations of him.
It's just a big melting, dripping pot of diarrhea that's going to fight Batman and Batman 2.
Yeah, he's basically a big pile of mud. If I had to guess,
big cup of mud, brother.
They'll do like the more grounded early takes on the character, which is he's a failed actor who he can basically through prosthetics disguise himself as anyone. I think that's probably more realistic of what Matt Reeves will do. If he has the balls to try and do Clayface in live action, go for it. It'll be tough. It'll be really tough, but I trust him. I mean,
that doesn't fit.
Whatever he wants to do, I trust him. But the character, if you do the grounded take on the character, I think it's a perfect fit.
Yeah, watch Feet of Clay, the Batman animated series episode. Is wonderful. This was one of those ones where I kind of got it in my head. I thought that they were going to announce Hush. I felt like they were kind of leaning that way. Reeves had talked about it, and when it was announced Clayface, I was like, well, this bizarrely makes a lot of sense. And so I'm with you in the sense that I think they were going to ground it more so in reality, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of when they announced that Bane was going to be the villain for Dark Knight Rises, where like on the page, a guy wearing a wrestling mask who's, like pumps himself full of steroids probably doesn't work in that universe, but they made it work. I think they're going to do something similar with Clayface here. And I'm really glad, and we'll see. But one thing I'm a little bit worried about, if there's any worry with this universe, it's that like all of the characters or many of the characters kind of have the same affect and like same personality. And I was worried that they were just going to do another serial killer story. It seems like they might branch out a little bit more than that. And I think that'd be awesome. So yeah, looking forward to Clayface.
Explain the Hush to me like I'm an idiot, or just whatever Hush is.
I'm not even that familiar, but he's a character who is somewhat similar in the sense that he uses a disguise, but his big thing is like he felt like Bruce Wayne's parents did him wrong, I believe, when he was a kid, and so he uses. I think he's also a surgeon.
Yep. And he's like one of Bruce's best friends.
Yeah, for when they were kids, he was one of his best friends, and he basically creates just something of a skin mask to make himself look like Bruce. So it's a creepy character, but Clayface, I think, in the modern world is definitely more recognizable.
I still think they bring in Hush. I still think he shows up just for how much they teased him in the first one.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Played by Taylor Lautner. Would be kind of cool. Everything comes back together.
Why would it be Taylor Lautner?
This is Robert Pattinson Batman, no?
Oh, yeah.
Well, did they tease him in the first movie?
They've talked one time since that franchise ended.
They might not have even talked on set. They might have been in green screen in separate areas.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Did they tease Hush in the first movie, or was it just Reeves saying you?
They did. While they're doing like the old articles, they like put Hush.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Is that his name or something? Like something Hush?
That's just like the villain name. His real name is... Can't remember.
Yeah,
You watch Batman Hush, though, the animated movie. It's a great animated
Thomas
film.
Elliott.
Thomas Elliott. There you go.
This guy looks creepy as fuck. He looks like a mummy.
Yeah, no, he's got a really cool design.
Did his face get like screwed up or something? Like,
No.
ooh, it's all stitched together. That's nasty. But I think it's from Arkham. See, this is something where I need to play Arkham just because I would get more familiar with Batman villains. I only know the ones from like the couple of animated movies I watched, plus obviously the live actions.
The Arkham series is like a great gateway for people who want to get into Batman. I feel like
One of the biggest
very
things,
accessible.
one of the biggest exposures to that game franchise is when people modded it and they swapped the skins of Catwoman and Batman and had Batman walking super seductively and like grinding on Catwoman. It was very funny.
Yeah,
but outside of there, we got Extraction 2 trailer dropped like right before we started. I'm not sure if you guys had seen it yet. I'll just quickly gloss over it. Looks awesome. It was a 2-minute teaser where it was just Tyler Rake beating the fuck out of people in the prison riot or something, just like demolishing human beings. And I can't wait for Extraction 2.
Did he beat up any kids?
Not in this one yet. At least that we saw. That was awesome. Tell me that wasn't cool.
It was fucking hilarious. He just beat the shit out of a bunch of 12-year-olds.
Open hand slapped a kid with like an AK-47 like upside down. It was so funny.
Tyler Rake lives.
Yeah, Tyler Rake lives. Just what a line.
I said this to Kendrick before too. Before we started recording, I was like, I really hope. I know Netflix is against it, but these are the kind of movies they need to put in theaters. They did it with Red Notice, and they did it with Knives Out. Which Knives Out, I don't necessarily think it needed to be on a big screen. It's definitely fun to be in a big theater watching with people, but big action movies, it's just so much better when they're on the big screen. You have, especially the sound design, like you just, unless you're filthy rich, you cannot replicate that.
Yeah, the Dolby on that's going to be nuts. Asher Angel, who plays young Shazam, was liking anti-Zach Levi tweets, basically just saying like, hey, this guy played the character of Billy Batson like Levi did as like a 12-year-old kid, even though he's 18, which is true. But again, we talked about this a bit in our Shazam review. That's not something that I totally put on Levi versus the director, because he's the guy who has to sit there and be like, hey, maybe do this a little bit differently, or hey, switch the vibe, or tell the kid Asher to be like, hey, you act this younger. Like that's something that I don't necessarily put on Levi, because he was just acting the same as he did in the last movie, like exactly the same, maybe a little goofier, but like that's something that's on the director. I don't necessarily put it on him.
If an 18-year-old acted that way, he would have no friends. There's
zero friends.
Yeah, no wonder his family didn't want to hang out with him.
Yeah,
he's a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Like also Asher Angel, what a name!
Cool ass name.
Yeah.
That's a porn star's name.
I was gonna say X-Men name. Like that's what Angel's name would be.
Yeah. One thing, and now I understand why it's not getting talked about because nobody saw the fucking thing, but Shazam: Fury of the Gods is like a historic comic book bomb.
Pretty bad.
Like, it is. Yeah. Fantastic Four from 2015 has made more worldwide than this movie has. Now it's still relatively early, but it is. You talk about like, and I didn't even hate the movie necessarily, but you talk about like how to not do a sequel properly 101. Like they really fumbled the bag here. Waited too long. Didn't know what the fuck characters to include. Clearly a COVID movie as well. When I was watching, I don't know if I said that in the review. Just a mess.
I'll never forget the fucking Skittles. Giving the unicorn Skittles. Like,
taste the rainbow.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I kind of feel bad for Zach Levi because, like you said, I think it fell more on the director. Like, obviously, Zach Levi played it wrong.
Yeah.
But that's why you have a director there on set to tell you to do it differently. Yeah. Like, he was fully committed. It's not like he wasn't trying. And I do think he's charming. It's just, and it worked in the first movie because Billy Batson was 12 years old, and that's
Yeah.
way 12-year-olds act. He's like fucking 18 and acting like an absolute goofball.
Yeah. Poor kid Asher Angel, barely even the movie at all.
I
He had
know.
2 lines in that damn movie.
I wonder what happened there.
It's a
Like,
great
why
question.
why not include him more?
Maybe because like I could see this if you're the director of the studio and you're watching this and you're like, hey, I can focus more on the moody kid, 18-year-old, or I can focus more on Zach Levi, who is the star of this entire thing. And like, yeah, that seems like a no-brainer from a business standpoint. But I think that kid was doing more, or doing better than Levi was doing, if that also makes sense. All right, Clint Eastwood is preparing to direct and write his final film. It's rumored to be a thriller titled Juror Number 2. Got to work on that, Clint. It's a working title.
Oh, it has a working title?
Currently titled Juror Number 2. The story is said to focus on a juror on a murder trial who realizes that he may be the murderer. I'm just reading this for the first time because I just copy pasted it straight from the wiki. He may be the murderer and struggles with the dilemma of turning himself in or manipulating the jury to get away with the crime. I'm kind of interested.
I mean, that sounds interesting. I just wish that Clint would do. I really was wishing he would do a Western.
Yeah.
I guess he's done the retrospective Western with Unforgiven.
Unforgiven is like, I think, a good sign off, though. It's very difficult to beat that.
Yeah, you almost wish that had been his final film.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he has movies after that are good.
Oh, he has so many great movies. I think he's one of the more underrated directors. When people speak about greatest directors of all time, Clint Eastwood rarely gets thrown out because you think of him as an actor first, but his filmography, I mean, he's one of the founding like pillars to Warner Brothers. He's one of the big reasons why they have
and they try to fuck him
as
too,
large
after Zaslav.
Yeah, I mean, he is notable for being able to get movies done on time, which I think is commendable. He gets them done quick. Actors, from what I hear, really enjoy working with him. He seems like a very interesting guy. I mean, he's 93 years old and he's still doing this shit. He's still acting too. Like he was in The Mule having a threesome. I'm looking forward to this. I love Clint. Even despite his weird behavior at points.
Yes.
Talking to chairs.
This is like his 8th final film of my lifetime, though. That's what's annoying to me. Wasn't Gran Torino supposed to be his final acting film? That was fucking 15 years ago. And then wasn't The Mule supposed? I don't know. It seems like he's done this a lot. Look, if it's his final film, if the movie's good, the movie's good. He's very hit or miss for me. Like there's movies he's made that I fucking hate. But then he'll do something like very simple, quaint, and good. Like I really liked Richard Jewell. I like that
awesome.
movie.
Oh yeah.
And nobody saw it, but I thought it was one of his better films of recent memory. But then sometimes he'll branch off and do something stupid. So
Cry Macho,
or The Mule.
Yeah,
Mule wasn't nearly as bad as Cry Macho.
Yeah, Cry Macho was much worse. And 1517 to Paris, which was god.
One of the worst movies I feel like of the last decade.
But that's the thing with him is like he just picks out what he wants to do, and like most of the time,
I mean, American Sniper
before that,
Letters from Iwo Jima,
J. Edgar, and
was
Jersey Boys. I like kind of
Jersey Boys is good.
Invictus, not terrible. Gran Torino, Changeling, bad. Flags of Our Fathers and Iwo Jima, though, great combo. $1 Million Baby, not as good as people made it seem out to be, but still a good movie. Mystic River, I love Mystic River. I fucking love Mystic River. I'm a sucker for that.
Ed Norton.
No, that is
or Dustin.
It's Sean Penn, Tim Robbins, and Kevin Bacon. Great movie. Space Cowboys. In between on that one, I would say. I'm just going through his entire list here, and like he has so many great ones. It's crazy. Damn, Heartbreak Ridge. I love Heartbreak Ridge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he has got a deep ass filmography.
Yeah. Sudden Impact. I forgot that.
2 Mules from Sister Sarah. 2 Mules for Sister Sarah. Great Western. Highly recommend.
I think we all like Clint. I think the thing though to remember with him constantly having final movies is that he just keeps living. So like that is also old. That is part of the thing. I'm sure like when he made his movie when he's like 89, he's like, yeah, this is probably the final one. I don't know how much longer this ticker's going to go. But now he's 92 and he's still going. So I'm sure he's going to keep doing them until old father time comes.
Has Scott been in one of his movies yet? It'd be nice.
Yes, he was in Gran Torino. He was
really?
Yeah, I remember that for sure. He was like the white kid acting gangster that like is dating the neighbor's daughter.
Oh, okay.
And then like he gets like chased off and Clint Eastwood comes in and threatens him or something like that.
Nobody was like, oh, that guy looks just like fucking Clint.
Yeah, exactly. He should do Western too soon.
Oh, he was in Trouble with a Curve too. He was the baseball player.
That's right. He's an American Sniper. Oh wait, no, he wasn't. There's a cameo. I'm looking at Clint's. But yeah, I don't know. I'm always interested to see what Clint's got up his sleeve, even though sometimes it doesn't always. It's a flip of a coin.
we're gonna shoot a courtroom scene.
Have you guys ever heard the story that Jay Moore told about the time that Clint Eastwood roasted an old woman on set of, I think it was Hereafter, the one with the tsunami?
No.
It was a moment where all that had to happen was a woman had to give a letter to Jay Moore's character, and she was going for a fucking Oscar, like her hand, like she's like, oh, I got this letter for you, and Clint Eastwood, he doesn't even call cut, he just goes, sweetheart, come here, and he whispers into her ear, he goes, I can't stress enough how much this movie isn't about you. He goes, Christ, if I could have just hired your arm, I would have. And then he just goes back upstairs and goes, all right, now let's do it again.
That's funny. Holy shit. He's a mean bastard. I forget who we interviewed. We interviewed someone who did Letters of Iwo Jima with him. And they said that Ryan Phillippe, right? Yeah. He said that Clint would be climbing up this mountain at 5 a.m. every morning, before everybody. And he's not even out of breath. And everyone else is dying trying to
go, you fucking pussies.
He's just,
I'm 85 years old.
Is Clint Eastwood on the Mount Rushmore of most famous actors? Or just Hollywood?
I was going to say Hollywood. Yeah. If you just put it in more broad terms, I would say, yeah.
I don't think a younger generation knows him. Per se,
true.
They could have put a name to a face, but if they saw
the Gorillaz song,
his face, yeah, they would definitely know. I think they would know the Gorillaz.
Great song. Did you know that's fucking? I was watching a TikTok on it. I was watching the Gorillaz behind the scenes of that. It was just a default beat on a fucking piano, whatever. Yeah. That's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah, but I don't think the younger generation really knows too much about him. But I think if they saw his face, he is when you think Western, he is the face of Western movies. So
it's that dude.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into our Dungeons and Dragons review, let's talk about Dave.com.
All right, we are joined in studio for the first time. Last time we did it, I think we were both remote. I was in Nashville in a hotel.
Zoom and over, was it COVID maybe? I don't even remember.
Yeah, COVID time.
Yeah, long feels for ages ago.
A fellow, what's the last name? A surname? Is that what that's, what's the?
Yeah, no, you
know
what
it is? Is the last name a surname?
Yeah.
Him second guessing
family naming your surname, I think, is your first.
Was that how stupid was that?
Fancy for me.
Yeah.
Well, we're last name brothers. We're both Lowes. To meet another Lowe in person, I've never met another Lowe in person.
Yeah,
there it is.
Damn it. Oof. And there's a third Lowe we're gonna get to talk about too.
That's right.
That's true.
We are
lots of Lowes here.
Well, it's that's a great segue. Unstable, out March 30th on Netflix. For those who don't know, give a little synopsis.
It's out now.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Today is March 30th. So you lost track of your days.
April.
Already April.
It's April 3rd.
That actually, I'm not one of those people who does that. I'm not
lost track of time.
That actually, I actually just lost track of, and I said and I just realized about an hour ago, I told somebody, I said, yeah, when April rolls around, and they gave me a look like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh yeah,
now it all makes sense.
I never know what day it is. I'm terrible. Sometimes I incorrectly fill out the wrong year and when I'm writing it.
Oh, me too.
I did something really. You ever play Wordle on your phone? You know I set my clock back because I missed it, and I set it an hour earlier so I could play the previous day's Wordle, and I forgot to rechange my time, and I missed multiple things the next day and didn't realize till noon. It's I just missed. I've
something
truly lost time
for our brains to comprehend.
yeah, 5-letter words, time zones.
Yeah.
Father-son comedy in which socially shy son played.
By my son.
By your son.
Mm-hmm.
Begins working for a successful and admired but eccentric and narcissistic adjacent father, played by you, at his high-tech bioresearch facility in order to help save him from sprawling further following the death of his wife. The New York Times calls it comedy gold. Mm-hmm. Comedy with your son.
Comedy gold.
With your son.
That's got to be pretty fucking cool, right?
It's anytime you can work with family, it's the best. I mean, it's... to work with your kids, come on, it's a dream come true. And John Owen, that's my son, co-created the show along with me and Victor Fresco. So a lot of it was born in his own imagination. And so we get to work out all of our family dirty laundry in a therapeutic way on a television show.
Yeah. Well, how much of it is actual life experience or even an exaggerated?
All of it.
All of it.
Pretty much all of it. I mean, I think I like to delude myself into thinking that it's more fictionalized than it actually is. The people who know us well watch the show and go, "It's just you two guys."
Were there any things that you may have remembered together for an experience or a story that maybe one of you had a different recollection of it that came out now in the making of the show?
Yeah, we're not officially yet doing a season 2, but we already have a writer's room open, and one of the storylines they're working on in season 2 involves us playing a tennis game and me shouting things from the sidelines. And I realized, oh, this is what my son thought I was doing when he was playing high school tennis. Like he thought clearly I was heckling him.
Mhm.
And my perspective was I was helping him. Your toss is too low. Your toss is too low. Apparently it wasn't helpful.
Yeah. How long into the reading of the script did you realize you were like, oh fuck? Like
Immediately.
Self-reflection immediately.
There's a lot of moments in the first series of Unstable where I know this is him working out his, and by the way, vice versa. I'm like, engage your core. Come on, engage your core. What's going on with your hair? I do not like that color of shirt. It's dad stuff that I did.
Yeah. I love that. There's eventually going to be an episode of your show where you're going to have to make a show with your son in the show. You're going to catch yourself back up.
Meta.
Yeah.
Do you go Seinfeld meta, or you're making Unstable within Unstable?
Yes.
We might
Just layer it.
it could happen. It could easily happen.
Just real. You even go bald like George. Yeah, really. Yeah.
Oh, some lines will not be crossed.
Yeah. Some so. Yeah.
Not worth it.
Listen, I've taken too much Propecia over the years to just throw it all away.
Us Lowe's have good hair.
Yeah.
That's
hair.
yeah.
I don't know how you guys
No matter what.
even run a comb through that shit. It's crazy.
That's right.
You mentioned you made it along with Victor Fresco, who did Santa Clarita Diet with your show with awesome show. Just what made him hitting his style the right fit for you guys?
We needed someone who, particularly because I'm working on 2 shows at once. I'm on 911 Lone Star.
Mhm.
And John Owen is new to this. So we really needed someone who could make the trains run on time, who understood how to run a writer's room, who understood really how to make proper television, and who shared our sense of humor. And Victor immediately understood what we were trying to do, and has been just a lifesaver in bringing elements to the show that we wouldn't have thought of maybe. And it's been a really great collaboration. And, the kind of reception that it's getting, I've been around long enough to know that it doesn't happen all the time like this, and to just sit back and enjoy it while it's happening.
Especially in the first season too, because like first seasons of almost any show, it's like you pilot and then you kind of get your wheels to get on, stuff starts to work to get itself together. Even with like Parks and Rec, which we've talked about before, like first season, not everything was working together, but then the second season shit gets rolling. And with your show, the first season, immediately kind of like, having the direction, I'm sure has to be great, right?
It's fun. I mean, every once in a while, a show will come fully formed. West Wing was for sure one of them. It never needed to find its footing. Unstable, when you watch it, it feels like we've been making it for 4 seasons. And I think it's partially because we know the material so well, because it's
some chemistry here. Can't place this chemistry. It's weird.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously it's a Netflix model, so it's the binge drop too. Does that add that kind of element where it's not like a West Wing, or it's not like a Lone Star that airs like a normal TV show where you kind of know it all right away? It's not like, oh, well, give it an episode. It's like, no, they've watched all the episodes.
It's funny. It's surprising that you can. The show's designed to be laugh out loud, unapologetically a comedy. There's no edge. And there's plenty of shows with that kind of dark light. This is old school, must-see TV, 30 Rock, Arrested Development type humor. And so it plays really fast. So there's only 8 episodes, and it plays fast. And people are literally watching our entire season in less time than it took them to watch The Irishman. It's unbelievable.
We just had an Irishman.
So your runtime's under 30 hours then. It's all the episodes. Okay.
Exactly.
That's right.
For the record, we like long movies. It's always The Irishman we make. It's always The Irishman.
Why is it when you think of long movies, it's
always,
there's so many long
I don't think it's
movies.
the longest movie by far, but it felt
for sure not.
long.
Yeah.
And
It's always the go-to reference. I don't know why.
You like long movies. You are a little more critical of length than I am. But whenever we bring up length, it's just always
The Irishman's the banner.
always a movie that came out only 2 years, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you all seen the length of his next movie?
Oh, Flowers and Flower Moon?
Oh
4
yeah,
hours.
yeah.
Oh, that. Now we're cooking with gas.
Here's the thing: if a movie is really good and compelling, 4 hours can seem like 40 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's bad, 40 minutes can seem like 4 hours.
Do you? And actually, we'll get back to Unstable. But as an actor, though, or someone, because it's different, because you're acting in the movie, you don't know like, hey, you're on hour 1 of this movie. I mean, you're acting for significantly longer than the actual cut of the movie. But do you ever get the sense though, if something's like super long, you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
And you get, as an executive producer, you get it at least 3 times. You get it in the script. You read it and go, this feels like fat. Let's take this out. You get it as an actor on the stage. You're playing the scene and you're like, this feels like it's not happening. Let's take this out. And then you get it in the editing room again. So you have at least 3 opportunities to sense how it's playing, and particularly in comedy, that's the whole ballgame.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a that's such a popular thing? Like I saw Zack Snyder's got a new thing coming out, and they were like, it's not out for like a year, and they said already the rated R director's cut is ready to go. I'm like, director, we haven't even seen the actual cut yet.
Theatrical cuts.
Have you been in anything that you were like, wow, we really cut out a shitload of stuff that I kind of wish? Is there anything one thing that sticks out to you?
For sure, my very first movie, The Outsiders. It's based on a very famous book that S.E. Hinton wrote, and it bears no resemblance to the book because of all the stuff they cut out. And then I think it was 15 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, they finally put out, they call it The Outsiders, the complete novel. And that has everything in it, and it's far superior, I think. So it's fun. It's never fun to have stuff cut that you like. In a movie or TV show.
He's got Megalopolis coming out soon too. I think Megalopolis. Yeah, I wonder what the link.
Because it's like, especially if it's like, that's not to say The Outsiders is bad. That's not what I'm saying here. But as an example, it's like if you do it and it's a bad movie, you're like, trust me, the full cut is, which we hear a lot in movies, especially these days with like the big blockbusters. You're like, well, trust me. That's like saying you have like a better bracket than the one that you're showing publicly during March Madness. Like, no, trust me, this longer cut is significantly better.
Did anybody's brackets survive beyond the second weekend?
I have no clue.
No, I mean, I have my chance. I'm a UConn fan. I picked UConn for the first time in my life this year. So let's. I'm hoping that, but everything else sucked. Everything else just
blew up.
Like I tweeted it, and I could, if they win, then I could go back and be like, but then they will see the rest of it.
Yeah,
they'll be like, well, you're just an idiot. You're just a fan. You put your team, you stunk otherwise.
Yeah. I had Arizona winning like an idiot, and just everything was destroyed within the first.
We had a contest here where we pick an underdog. And we pick an underdog to, if they make their Sweet 16, we win a trip to Ireland.
All expense paid.
$500.
Amazing.
And our underdog played San Diego State in the first round.
Why Ireland?
It was for a whiskey.
I could have led with that.
The Busker, yeah.
Famous.
Nothing against Ireland.
Famous March Madness country, Ireland. Yeah, it's famous for the NCAA tournament. Dad in a comedy. Yeah. All-time dad for you in a sitcom or on TV. Who is it? Like, what's your pinnacle?
Well, I think I have to say Jeffrey Tambor in Arrested Development.
Yeah.
I think Arrested Development is one of the greatest shows ever made. We definitely were inspired by Arrested, by 30 Rock, Veep a little bit. And, they're not, it's funny right now, for whatever reason, people aren't making those types of comedies. I mean, Ted Lasso is, but that also isn't a joke machine.
No, it really morphed into like a romantic, it's got like a dramatic side to it too. Yeah.
I mean, there's no laugh out loud, forget your trouble, feel good, smart silly. But smart silly is my favorite thing. I love smart silly. Smart stupid comedies are my jam.
You see with movies too, though, it's like it's just not pumping out what it used to be. Where you were any given weekend, you'd see. The funny movie coming out this weekend is probably Mario Brothers. It's like now
you get like 2 laugh out loud comedies really every year where it's like, this is what it's built for, is to give you like X amount of laughs per minute. Yes. And you don't really get a lot of that anymore.
100%. And I never thought that doing that would be daring or groundbreaking, but here we are.
Now you need like 20 layers of irony on every joke. Like it's like, you don't need that necessarily.
We should have re-recorded the intro. It's like Rob Lowe here with his daring, inventive. He's doing a comedy.
So risky.
At like Christmas morning reading these reviews, but one of them said, this show has the courage of its convictions. And I thought,
that was Richard Brody. That was Richard Brody's ass. I could feel it. Yeah. Courage. It's like, it's not, I don't know. I feel like they misunderstand it.
You're a brave soul for tackling comedy.
Very brave just to bring silly humor.
Yeah. Not everyone's receptive of it.
That's right, yeah.
You play kind of like a semi-familiar tech billionaire, I would say, or biotech billionaire, I guess, in this case. Is there anyone in particular you modeled him after?
We stole individual foibles from a lot of different people. We stole the wardrobe from, that sort of, cliched, and they do, all of them dress like, I just saw in I want to say the Wall Street Journal yesterday, the Chat GPT guy,
Mhm.
and he's wearing he looks like he's delivering Grubhub. Do you know what I mean? And there was a tech guy, the Zappos guy who was obsessed with heating his body.
That's where the beginning part of your episode comes from then?
That comes from him. He
Gotcha.
ended up literally cooking himself to death.
Jesus.
He literally did.
Fucking.
And so any kind of foible, someone told me that they ran into Justin Bieber at he's not a tech guru, but any eccentricities are what I like. And I guess he's taken to appearing with a blanket.
Like a child?
Like a blanket. Yeah.
Like a security blanket
I think
thing?
it's part of it is cozy. Part of it is comfort, but I think again, if we do season 2, I think my character should absolutely make public appearances
With
Have
a
a blanket.
blanket.
100%.
I think our favorite is probably, without asking you, I bet our mutual favorite tech billionaire clothing is probably Elizabeth Holmes.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was
The
hoping.
turtleneck.
To
But
just-
she's just ripping off
Steve Jobs. is the
Which is
problem.
amazing.
She's literally just like, oh, I'm going to be Steve Jobs, and then has a phony voice.
Yes, and Yoda quotes all over
Yes.
the office.
You just need a picture of Dragon with like one cell of the fake plastic stuff, just like
The
this.
the picture of her holding the Theranos thing like she's Steve Jobs with
So
behind
funny.
it, do or do not, there is no try. Yoda is one of my favorite. Just you're a lunatic.
It is a well. That's the thing, because the show was based off of John Owen's online trolling of me, and people
Mhm.
liked it, and I enjoyed it, and we thought, well, the audience is asking for. They're saying we want more of this. So the question was, okay, but what world do we set it in? And we set it in this sort of tech world because it's so ripe for the picking. There's
Mhm.
so much to lampoon.
Because it's really outside of Silicon Valley. Like, what else has there been that would be like
it touches on it, yeah.
No, Silicon Valley did it great, but again, that was it was funny, but it was not a joke machine like our show is. It was more of a character,
Mhm.
but I loved it, and they captured it beautifully.
Like-
I mean, that really felt like Silicon Valley.
Gavin
It's like
Belson.
So
Yeah.
much to parody to in that world, because like even like Theranos, like she had like Henry Kissinger on her board. Like, she had like
Yeah.
like high like generals of like the
Yeah, I'm always like,
Department of
I
Defense and
just don't
stuff.
understand. What did these old white men see in this beautiful blonde? I can't for the life of me understand
Yeah.
what they were thinking. I'm like,
Ooh.
I think I know what it was.
Yes. Free idea for you for the next season. You need to have a sexting scandal of some kind, because billionaire sexting is maybe the funniest thing whenever it comes out. What was it? Bezos was like, "I love you, my alive girl."
Yeah.
Like- Yes. It's just like fake stuff. Like it's just the most hilarious thing. I can't even understand how people think like that.
I'll throw that into the hopper for sure.
Yes.
Add that in there. We're gonna play a little game. Unstable. Check it out on Netflix. We're gonna play a little game of One's Gotta Go. So we're gonna
Yes.
give you things from past shows, movies, characters, and you got to get rid of one of them.
Oh, all right.
So
it's like I'm back in the editing room.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
this first one's tough. I'm a diehard West Wing fan. The yearly rewatch is about to happen. One's Gotta Go.
Brad Whitford. I'm sorry. Did I say that out
Well, you
loud?
may have spoiled it.
I didn't even know what the question
Leo, Josh, Toby, or
was. Oh, there
CJ.
it is.
Josh
Josh.
All right, who's next after that though?
Who are my other choices?
Tough. CJ, Toby, and Leo.
CJ's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
Leo's not going anywhere. Does that leave?
Toby by
Toby.
default.
Aw, poor Toby. I love Toby. He's the Eeyore.
Aw.
West Wing.
We this will be a mild deep cut, but my coworker and I, Nick, we have Spaldings on our desk, just like
Yeah.
Sam and Toby. Yeah,
Mhm.
Spalding's, man.
great. It's the best ball of all time.
I was like, Richard, you maybe not want to bounce that during my speech? Would it kill you? Should you just let an actor have a moment?
Parks and Rec, current show, 901 Lone Star, or The West Wing. One's got to go.
Oh, you.
Tough. You got to get you got to get rid of one of them.
What?
This is tough.
Your current work,
The one that's currently paying you.
All-time
royalties.
That's untouchable.
all time comedy,
I'm currently making it,
maybe one of the best 3 shows ever made.
and Parks and Rec maybe one of the best comedies, and
Yep.
West Wing maybe the best. And then, by the way, no matter what I say, there's going to be fans.
Okay,
who are livid.
I'll make it easier for you. We'll be nice again, fellow Lows. Which one, if you got rid of West Wing or Parks and Rec? I imagine you're going to say Parks and Rec because it came after West Wing. Which one, if you got rid of, would have a bigger negative impact in your career? Like if you didn't do one of them.
Oh, it's. I mean, the West Wing was such a big thing. It was. If you stick around long enough in show business, you will have multiple reinventions. It's the only way you can stick around.
Mm-hmm.
West Wing reinvented me, and it put me on the track that I'm still on. Almost 20
some odd years later.
Years later, so West Wing's untouchable.
So he got rid of Parks and Rec. Okay,
Yeah, we're
I
right.
didn't actually say.
Yeah.
I'll get rid of it.
You do the movie one next.
Yeah. Okay. So St. Elmo's Fire, Tommy Boy, or The Outsiders?
St. Elmo's Fire is untouchable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Tommy Boy is pretty beloved.
Yeah.
People love it.
Are you really uncredited in that movie? By the
Yeah.
way,
That's
I'm
crazy.
we love to do a check just in case or something, and I've never
It's
noticed.
true. I'm uncredited because there was a big argument of what my billing should be because Spade and Farley had never done a movie. I'd done like 50 or whatever it was. And I was like, you know what? We don't need to have this fight. I don't need to be billed. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it came from.
That's so funny.
I love that.
And billing means nothing. God, you guys are killing me. Are you this mean to all your guests?
No, this is the problem. You come back a second time. It's
This is probably how the movie Sophie's Choice was concocted.
Yes.
It's like, which one of your siblings do you have to?
Yes.
kill?
Has to go.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
That's fair. All right. Young number 2, Sam Seaborn or Paul Barish?
that one's easy. That's with characters. You're not
Those are easy. I'm never getting rid of Sam Seaborn. He's beloved. Young number 2 is very close to my. I think it's going to go with Paul Barish. I think. Yeah, I'm going with Paul Barish from Tommy Boy.
I like it's uncredited role after all.
That's good because it's uncredited.
Yes, exactly.
Listen, people don't even know it's me. My name isn't anywhere affiliated
true.
with that.
How would anyone tell? Yeah.
That we just like talking about classic comedies and how we don't get just the idea of young number 2 is one of those jokes. I just don't. We don't get movies like
it's so random and weird.
Yeah.
That I was playing golf with Mike Myers at my neighborhood Muni, and whenever I go to the 10th hole at the turn, I realized that spot created young number 2 because we were standing there waiting to tee off, and I did an impersonation of Robert Wagner, and he lost his mind. He called a bunch of people, said, "You got to hear Rob, do your thing," and I did it, and we laughed about it, and that was it. And then 6 months later, he hands me the script for Austin Powers 2, and in it, he's written young number 2, and then it says in parentheses, as played by Rob Lowe, close parentheses. And
that's beautiful. That's pretty amazing.
That goofing.
Yeah.
That is pretty. You just been doing now. You just do impressions whenever you go out with someone. It's like it just
anytime you go out with a celebrity, just do impressions nonstop.
Somewhere.
Yeah. Now we want to do. We call it. What's our newer 6-pack? I think we give you a smaller 6-pack of questions
Anything
last time.
6-pack, I'm in.
Yes, instantly. Your
it's
weirdest.
part of my takes there. They're probably fucking beer somewhere.
Your weirdest fan interaction.
Ooh.
It's always in a bathroom. Always, for some reason.
I did have an A-list movie star once come into the bathroom while I was peeing to ask if she could hold it.
Oh my god!
Whoa.
Oh my! That's
She
And by the
tailed you
way,
in.
I had just been introduced.
That's crazy.
you left quite the impression.
Tailed you.
People, because listen, I've written two books. I've written 2 memoirs, and people were like, "Is there anything that you haven't put in the book?" I'm like, yeah, like that story, because you don't want to really tell it, although I just did, without mentioning the name.
Yeah.
But that for sure it would be hard to top in terms of interaction. Although she wasn't a fan, she was a A-list movie star, but it did take place in a bathroom.
That's quite the bullet to have in the chamber for if you ever need like I got to make something
By the
fucking
way,
insane.
Close the deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was on at that point.
Seriously, there you go.
What are you gonna do? Except say yes.
in the men's room. I like to imagine this was in like, it wasn't even like a fancy place. You're in like an Arby's. Like you're just tailed into the Arby's unisex bathroom.
We've got the meat.
You literally did. That's why she was there. You can add yourself to the cast of any TV show, past or present. What would you want to be in?
Ooh. Oh, right now, I'd like to be in Succession.
You'd be a good like
you
investor.
would.
I think
Speaking of billionaires, yeah.
I think Succession. I love that show.
Mhm.
I love all the actors on it. They're doing such a magnificent, specific work. The language on it, for sure. At the moment, that would be the one for sure.
We've been talking about. I knew it would land well, but there's the idea that they're about to enter in with presidential candidates and have a war over different news. It's a great way to
Close that.
do the same thing but change it up completely. Yeah, it's pretty fucking
Yeah.
awesome.
What do you think the greatest acting performance of all time is? Like one that should be the bar for people in the profession.
Well, there's kind of two types, really, for me. There's the big swing, like every Daniel Day-Lewis part. There Will Be Blood. I've abandoned my boy. I mean, right? That's a big swing.
Mhm.
Yep.
And great. Anything Joaquin does, big swing, great. On the other side of it, I think the greatest film acting I've ever seen is Pacino in The Godfathers.
Yeah.
Particularly in Godfather 2. It's so still. It's so modulated. It's so authentic. It's so compelling. It's so subtle. It's movie acting at its finest. There are a lot of great performances, but there isn't one that's better for sure.
There's something about that scene, the diner scene where he kills Palazzo and the cop, like where you're just sitting there and like you could tell every single thought in his head. He's not saying a word. And like that's just unbelievable acting.
It's an unbelievable piece of work.
It is such a tough thing to compare, though, the more you think about it, because I like that you positioned the way you did. Because some of the big swings they're in. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, they are crazy. They're insane. Joaquin Phoenix, insane. But then there are some that are way more subdued. And you're right, like that calm kind of leveled out.
Everything Paul Newman ever did.
Yes.
I mean, Paul Newman and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Robert Redford in The Natural.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Robert Redford in The Natural might be one of the great performances of all time. But people never talk about it because he made it look so easy. And there's a school of acting that I love where they make it look easy. And when you say it, it sounds like it's a knock on the other type of acting.
We actually talked about that with you last time. We talked about like method acting and all that when we last talked to you.
Yeah, and it's not a knock on that. They're both great, but they're really kind of different things.
Is there a role that you turned down that you wish you took?
I mean, the only time I've ever turned a role down that ended up being something great was Grey's Anatomy.
Whoa, you're going to be McDreamy?
McDreamy. But here's the thing. If I'd have done it, it wouldn't have been McDreamy because everybody already knew me. And Patrick Dempsey at that moment was kind of, people were rediscovering him.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have given him a nickname because I would have just been Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe and Grey's Anatomy.
That's right.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's funny.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good
You
point.
know what I mean? So I don't know if it had been the same thing. And then on the other side of it, then I wouldn't have done Parks and Rec, which I loved.
What a different type. That's
But
pretty
again,
incredible.
That show would be completely.
Patrick Dempsey as Chris Traeger doesn't fit right. I don't know something about it. I don't think it would have worked. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Yeah, he gets Parks and Rec, and I get that one.
That's what we joked with. We interviewed Jake Johnson, and he almost got the role of Andy. He was the last cut before Chris Pratt, and we always joked about how if their careers had flipped, and then they would have met in the middle on Jurassic World again because they were both in Jurassic World.
That's amazing. I
crazy.
didn't realize that he was the short list there.
And then then Chris Pratt would have been a New Girl. Like it all would have just.
So we did the premiere of Unstable, and we hadn't done a big. Well, I guess it's probably because of COVID. There haven't been that many premieres. We did a big premiere on the red carpet, and it was so exciting. And to see a comedy with an audience is just such a gift. You hear the laughter.
Yeah.
And there was somebody in the audience laughing at every single joke, like De Niro in Cape Fear. Where De Niro's in the theater.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is this lunatic? I turned out it was Pratt. And I was like, I love him so much. He's just when you make Pratt laugh, you know that you've accomplished.
You've done
something.
good.
That's the thing. Then you need to, like, not even a test audience. Have Chris Pratt at every screening or premiere, and like, all right, we keep an eye on Pratt.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's how we know.
As Pratt goes, so goes the world.
He's your barometer. Yeah, I like that. You get an infinite budget. What movie are you going to make? You can pick a director and a co-star for yourself.
Oh, you know what I'd like to make? Honestly, it's going to seem very highfalutin, and you guys know I'm not a highfalutin person.
Everyone says that about. They're like Rob Lowe, not
Rob
highfalutin.
is not highfalutin, but he will use the phrase.
Yes.
I love Atlas Shrugged.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorite
Dan
books.
Randy.
And it's never been made correctly. I don't know if it is makeable, but I have all the money in the world.
Yeah, then you're in better shape at least.
Completely infinite, yeah.
I would want to take a crack at that.
As like, would you want to be in it or direct it?
Yes, Howard Rourke.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love
I
that.
don't need to play John Gold.
Who'd you get to direct something like that?
That's I don't even know. I would have to think about it.
And that's everything. It's not like I don't even think you could find two directors that could do
Aaron
that.
Sorkin to write it.
Oh yeah, he'd be good at that.
Obvious one.
I mean, he would.
Yeah.
But there's there's language in the book and dialogue that you just lift right out. It's so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that it's so controversial to people. I don't get it. I know why people say it's controversial. When I read the book, I don't get those feelings from it.
Mm-hmm.
But that would for sure be the one I would like to do.
We're in an era where everyone feels they need to be on one side of a fence. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
everything
It's
needs to be
draft,
like bifurcated, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to present the hat?
Yeah. So
Well, I'm getting a hat.
You're getting a free hat.
we promised
this last time
we promised last time. We definitely didn't remember.
We didn't.
15 minutes before you got here.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it looks very
I like that
authentic.
The envelope is on top of it. Okay.
It's not necessarily an envelope.
We said, like the NFL hat, we give you a podcasting hat.
Instead of
That's the hat.
Lightning hockey.
That's
hide the hockey logo. Hide the hockey logo.
You've now taken the hat apart, but that was supposed to be a podcasting hat.
Oh,
Yes.
no, it's a
Yeah.
podcasting hat.
Yes.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
you thought you were getting a real cool hat.
I was
No.
getting a really cap, but this is
No, it's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So this is in the lieu of the MLB, NFL hats.
This is just what I like. This is
yes.
what I'm about today.
Yes.
Yeah.
The generic
That's your new
hat.
meme. That's your new meme. Now
I have to look slack face, like vaguely disinterested.
we asked about it last time. I know it's only been a year, but like that NFL hat meme is like the most stand test of
Yes.
time meme of all time.
What do
It's
you
so
think
good.
It is.
I don't know. We can't put it.
I do think you just did it. I think if his face was like, if you were smiling or laughing, I don't know.
No one
I think
cares.
it's because it's the shot in that moment. It's because you have a neutral expression with a neutral hat, and it's just
Yes.
it's just
It's the most neutral meme that's
But
ever existed.
it's still to this day. Like we run a trivia league here, and the fans, I get mad at our fans because I go root for a team, stop rooting for the rules and for anti-cheating. You're all fans of the league, and then people will tweet back but they put the trivia league logo over the NFL hat.
So
it's endless.
I've had every league since try to get me to wear MLB. I've got Live Golf. I'm like,
I love that.
Live Golf's at around 100, please.
Yes.
Wear the hat.
Any style you want, we'll make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. That's fun.
All right, we have like one more minute. So I was gonna ask you a bunch of different favorite movie questions,
Please.
but I want to ask. We'll see if you answer this one.
Yeah.
First movie you ever watched or went to? First time you ever went. Oh, this kind of sucks. Like the first time you ever said, "Oh, movies can be not good."
Ooh.
I have mine.
I forget what
Well,
mine
this
was.
goes back to our original talk about long movies.
Yes.
And I remember seeing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That movie's so long, there's an actual intermission.
There is. It's like 4 hours
There's
long.
an intermission in it. And I remember, and the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is plummeting towards the cliffs, and the rocks are coming up, and it's intermission. I remember, like, I had to have been like 6 or 4. Going, what? Really?
Oh, Caractacus Potts.
Yes, I remember. By the way, I love Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but I do remember, like, you could lose 20 minutes.
Could trim some off there, yeah.
Yeah, I don't need to go cool my jets in the lobby and buy more licorice. Let's go.
My
Necco wafers.
my dad had me watch all the Planet of the Apes movies, and then took me to see the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie,
Yeah.
and that was for a time. I remember my dad was like, "What'd you think?" And I was like, I don't think I. He's like, "Yeah, it's terrible. I'll never." Yeah,
The
that
Paul Giamatti ape was weird.
I love everybody involved in that.
Yep.
It's very, very talented. The movie is not good.
Yeah, there's
Oh, yeah.
something missing there.
And I am obsessed with Planet of the Apes.
That's yeah, it's
Have you
unbelievable.
seen this guy who dresses as Dr. Zaius? Hanging. Oh,
No.
I'm going to change your lives. Hanging with Dr. Zaius. It's like
I
he
forgot
does
we
these
have Wi-Fi here.
appearances, and he tells stories of Hollywood as Dr. Zaius the ape. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Like in full costume, like prosthetic and everything?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
hanging
Let's
with Dr. Z.
gotcha.
He has his own YouTube channel apparently.
What? I don't know why I oddly recognize that. That looks unbelievable.
It's the best. He tells this story about like when the first time he met Sammy Davis Jr. and it's
I need to watch. It's amazing.
Absolute great. He talks about like how he didn't get the part in Every Which Way But Loose,
Yeah.
and the other orangutan got it. It's really great.
Oh my, I gotta check that out.
You just killed the rest of our afternoon. That's going to be the rest of our afternoon.
It's the rabbit hole of rabbit hole.
After you watch Planet of the Apes, though, check out Unstable on
Yes.
Netflix. Already, I can't wait. It's fucking April. I can't wait. It's like, stunning. Thank you so much. Great time.
So
Yeah, thank you
fun.
so
Great to see
much.
you in person. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, let's talk about Dave.com. If you're living paycheck to paycheck or struggling to make ends meet, it can be really stressful when unexpected expenses come up. With Dave, you can get your money sooner, so without worrying about how much money you're going to have to get through the week. We've all been there. You have an unexpected medical expense or you get into a fender bender, but you don't have the money to pay for it immediately. Now, Dave can get you out of that pinch when you really need it. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. And with Dave, there's no interest, no late fees, or credit check. That's more money to fill your tank, finally get your car repaired, catch up on bills without having to wait for your next paycheck. You can finally tackle all those expenses that have been stressing you out, which is great. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to get the financial relief that they need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch, you need some extra help, download the Dave app and see if it has, think of it as a helping hand from the future you. Download the Dave app from the App Store right now or go to dave.com/LCB. That's dave.com/LCB. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by the Evolve Bank and Trust, member of the FDIC. Thanks to Dave.com. All right, Dungeons and Dragons time. This movie has a storied history with LCB. We could.
Yeah,
Kind
you're a
of
fucking
recap it.
idiot.
No, you walked it back too, so you're a fucking idiot, and so did Jeff.
I'm admitted. Idiot.
So Dungeons and Dragons, we first heard about this a while back. Like I think we all kind of had a similar reaction pre trailers and all that. Just like, oh, kind of that's cool, right? Like D&D is something that's influenced so much in at least in like all of our lives with video games and all that, just the RPG genre. So I think it's something we're kind of pumped for. Saw the trailers for it. I think we all saw the trailers for it. Like the concept, we were like, okay, the trailer looked like dog shit. Trailers are dog shit.
Trailers
we can
are
all
bad.
admit that, right?
Yeah. I said who wants this like 8 times during the trailer.
Yes, it was less bad, more like this feels like a movie out of time. This
Yeah.
feels like a movie from 2003, and it is 2023.
Mm-hmm. You guys, I forget how you felt on it, Chris. Were you just like you were?
What the trailers for this?
Yeah.
Oh no, I thought it looked like crap. I was more so just fascinated by the idea that Hollywood thought anyone cared. Like that's just what's interesting to me is that everything about the trailers made it seem like it was 15 years out of date. Like the way it was edited, not so much the people who are in it necessarily, but just it felt dated. So, and I mean, I done movies based on board games. Just wait. Before I piss anybody off, does Dungeons & Dragons, is that technically a board game? Or is it
Tabletop, I guess, would be the
I
technical
don't know. I'm
term.
not a fucking nerd.
I think tabletop is what we're looking for. You're going to have Joe Manganiello come and beat down your door.
Those don't have a great track record, so I did not think that this would be good. No.
So, Dungeons & Dragons, a charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a long-lost relic, but their charming adventure goes dangerously awry, and they run afoul of the wrong people. A lot of big names in this, as you all know. Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, who, by the way, I love Michelle Rodriguez just continuing to get these awesome action roles. So she's badass. She's one of the most, out of the last 20 years, one of the great badass actresses in all of cinema.
Yeah.
Renee Jean Page, right? We're going with?
Isn't it Reggie?
R-E-G-E is Reggie?
You said
With an accent mark on it?
You said Renee.
Regé?
That's a woman's name.
Regé? Renee's, no, it is.
It's actually
It is.
Regay.
Yeah. Reggae, Gene Page, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, Hugh Grant, And then a couple other smaller cameos from people that we won't talk about. Huge Grant. He is rather large in this. Directed by John Francis Staley and Jonathan Goldstein, who the most recent thing I could think of that they did was Game Night, which was awesome.
Yes.
And Jonathan Francis Staley, you probably know from Freaks and Geeks. He was like the main kid.
I know him from Waiting.
That's post Freaks and Geeks. But he wasn't waiting. He was like, he cursed them all out there.
Yeah,
right?
he was the one at the very end. Yeah.
Yeah. So this movie.
Oh, that's who directed this shit?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they wrote Game Night. I think he directed it too again. Awesome movie. Very funny. This one, this is what I'll say about Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. It is significantly better than I had originally expected just based off of the prelim stuff. There is no doubt about that. It's got a certain level of charm to it. I liked all the actors. I think they all casted it themselves in really well. It's maybe at points feels a little long. The CGI not always great. But I think another big compliment I can really give about this is you could tell that this movie is made for fans of Dungeons and Dragons, which is something I always appreciate whenever there's anything that's made for like an older or some sort of franchise that is very well revered. And it was also at the same time, I think, digestible for someone like me who knows nothing about Dungeons and Dragons, because I'm watching it and I can tell there's little moments where like they pan to something or they say something, and I can tell that's not for me, that's for the fans of the game, but it's not something that takes away from my viewing experience as someone who knows nothing about this. So I appreciate all of that. And the humor hit for the most part on all the levels. The action was okay. It was nothing I would say special. And at the end of the day, I think this is a movie where I enjoyed watching it. But at the same time, and this is the comparison I thought of this morning in the shower, it reminds me almost of a Jurassic World, where I will remember nothing about this movie in a month. Zero. I couldn't tell you right now a single character's name from this movie at all. No. And it'll be something where like I remember having a good time watching this movie, but it has left zero impact on me. Did nothing that like reinvented the wheel or did anything crazy unique or anything like that. But like that doesn't make it bad. You know what I mean? It doesn't make it a bad movie. It just makes it one that's not particularly memorable. But Chris, what did you think of D&D?
Okay. I'm surprised this has like a 90 something rating.
Yeah, it's not a 90 something movie.
That is insane. There are issues with this movie that plague most movies I see. Now, you brought up the CG. I mean, I'll just say it. There's points the CG is fucking bad. I mean, there's some really bad effects in here. And it suffers from the problem that every movie suffers from, is that the final 40 minutes is just a loud action sequence, and I just wanted to cover my ears and cover my eyes. But this is one of the true examples of a movie that is so much better than it has any right to be. And I think a huge reason for it is the way it's directed. This movie very much has its tongue in its cheek. Like, one of the big issues from what I remember of the original Dungeons and Dragons movie is like, so you had some guys who were playing that shit like it was Shakespeare, and then like it was tonally just didn't make any sense. Here, everyone knew what they wanted this to be. Chris Pine, I feel like he has a good taste for these kind of roles. Like even in those Wonder Woman movies, which is the second one especially, I think is fucking terrible.
Dog shit.
He does a good job of kind of, you know, being the anchor there, and you know he's a likable protagonist. I disagree with you somewhat on the action. I thought the action was actually really impressive at points. I think that these directors really like put their best foot forward. Like I was genuinely impressed with you know, the look of the action sequences, a lot of really unique stuff with the camera work.
That I agree with, but not necessarily totally in the action. Like I think the heist scene where they do the thing where she flips through the portal or whatever, like that was really cool. That's like and any shot where Justice Smith was using that little turn thing, whatever that was, the thing in his belt, that was cool too. Yeah.
So I mean, it's too long. To me, it's hard to really say what to rate it. Like it's in the 70s, like a 73 for me. You know, I don't know if I'd ever watch it again. I think it's going to be a great like TNT movie for a lot of people. So it's better than it has any right to be. And I think whoever did the punch up dialogue for this is good. Like the sequence, and they showed it a little bit in at least one of the trailers. The 5 question sequence actually made me laugh out loud multiple times.
That was good.
They were really clever with that. So yeah, it's for a late March release of a movie based on a tabletop game. It's solid, serviceable.
Yeah, we get a lot of those
all the time.
Yeah,
the Warhammer movie. I can't wait.
Oh gosh, they better not try to do the Warhammer movie like this. That won't.
Oh
work.
God, no. God, fuck no, dude.
But this movie, like you guys said, it It reminds me in a way of like Phase 2 Marvel, where there's a very clear understanding of who the movie is for and what they're trying to do. And they keep it simple. It's just a family fun movie. Like, I don't understand where the PG-13 rating comes in. Honestly, this is a PG movie. This is a movie built for parents and their kids to go watch. Chris Pine is incredibly likable here. He's very charismatic. It almost makes you wish that these movies were there for him for the past decade while he was, I mean, he's getting older now. He's not that old, but it feels like he really had a niche here that he missed out on. Maybe Ryan Reynolds was taking these spots from him. But he's just extremely likable. Michelle Rodriguez is used perfectly. It's almost like, I would say like Drax is used in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of dialogue, but when she speaks, it's funny. And her action sequences and her fight scenes are great. The way she's like, I don't understand why she's so strong. That's a Dungeons and Dragons thing that I just don't understand. I never played once. Have you guys ever played Dungeons?
No.
I always wanted to, though.
I've never even seen it. But like most I've ever been exposed to is fucking Eddie Munson.
India, that's right.
I
I just remember my senior year high school English teacher said that he played Dungeons and Dragons every week with a group of friends for 20 years. And through a bizarre series of circumstances, one of their characters had to sacrifice himself and everyone at the table cried. And I'm like, I'm not getting committed to this shit.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, no, the 90 rating, what is it at on Rotten Tomatoes?
It's got to be lower now. It's got to be in the 80s.
It was at like 93 when I saw it, 94. It's not that. That's just textbook Rotten Tomatoes
grading system. Yeah.
Grading system where it'd be hard to find a person who doesn't enjoy this.
91% now, yeah.
Like this is it is just an enjoyable movie, but it's not going to knock your socks off. I think it could have been funnier at points, especially if you compare it to Game Night, which I think is very, very funny at points, like laugh out of your seat funny. This doesn't really have any moments like that, but it is, you get a couple chuckles here and there, especially the 5 questions. I like
the parole scene right in the beginning. I think that set the table really well. Like that was very funny.
Yeah, the bird. Well, the CGI looked terrible.
The bird was cool.
Some of the practical effects when they got like the monsters up close, the practical effects looked great. Like those little practical animals, they looked really good.
Yeah, and it seemed like they got away from that throughout the movie because like that opening parole scene is just a lot of practical effects and like
all in a room. Yeah,
fucking Jonathan, that fucking effect.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
See, that's smart. I like that a lot.
And then they it seemed like they went more CG heavy.
Yeah, even that scene where like he backs up too far in the story and the guy like yells at him, like that's like good solid humor that you would not expect to be in a movie like this. You'd expect to be more, I don't know, not that was like some crazy smart comedy scene, but you expect to be dumber.
Yeah,
in a movie like this.
And the like you said, the heist scene was phenomenal.
Very cool.
That was easily the highlight of the movie, I think. And the druid, whatever the druid's escape, I can't remember her name.
See, this is the problem. This is the only big problem with it. But that's also a Dungeons and Dragons.
That was a very cool sequence where she's turning into the different animals. Every time she changed into different animals, very, very fun little sequence. Mm-hmm. Like, especially that, what was it?
The owl bear thing.
Yeah, the owl bear was awesome.
Yeah.
That thing was cool.
That was sick. Yeah, that's.
I mean, what are our scores here? Because I'm at like a 70, which sounds bad, but it's like it's a good 70.
No, that makes sense.
I have it at a 70 as well.
Yeah, I had it at 70. I'll put it at 70 with you guys to match it up.
I think it is like the most 70 movie I've seen in a long time. Like it's just right there. It could have. I think you shave 15 minutes off, you punch up maybe a little bit more comedy. It probably gets up to like an 80, but I don't think there's any way this movie gets above an 80. Like
no,
it just is what it is.
It's one of those things where maybe it's not the greatest comp in the world, but it reminds me a lot of Jurassic World where like, again, I enjoyed the shit out of that movie when I watched it. I still think it's fun to watch. You see that lady getting thrown up in the air and eaten by the mythosaur. I'm not coming out of that thing. It's the best movie ever. Like
that woman was violated in that movie.
Destroyed. That poor woman in Jurassic World. Just eaten by 15 different dinosaurs.
That's one of the funniest comedy scenes in the last decade. That woman just getting fucking massacred by like 10 different dinosaurs.
There's a lot to like about this movie. I do think the biggest problem walking away from it is that it doesn't leave a very huge lasting impression on me other than like I had a fun time at it. It's nothing where I'm like I go home and I'm thinking about this scene or like I'm doing anything like that, which maybe isn't necessarily the point for an introductory movie into this sort of franchise. But I would assume that since they want to do more Dungeons and Dragons movies and all of that they would do, I would say maybe a slightly better job of like introducing all of these characters with more oomph to like make you attach to them a little bit more.
Yeah, I just didn't really understand the mechanics of everything.
Yeah,
if that makes sense, like the lore and the mechanics of like the actual game. Like I think it would have really benefited me. I'm sure if you play Dungeons and Dragons, you enjoy this quite a bit more.
Yeah,
understanding like the powers of each character. It never really was fully fleshed out. I felt like it was like, oh, it's a druid, and I was like, what the fuck is a druid? I know I've read that in a fantasy book at some point, but I don't really know what they do. And then she just starts changing into different animals. I was like, oh, that's cool. I wonder what else she can do. It was like, oh, you got a wizard who can't really do shit.
Definitely a little bit more, I think, when you're introducing, like, especially in the fantasy world, like, you want to get them, as far as us an audience member, you want to get us, like, really caught up in the lore. Because, like, that's the easiest way to make an instant fan out of anybody, is to have lore that I want to go home and I want to Wikipedia this shit. I don't think I necessarily had that with this. And maybe that's also partially, like, you go and look at other things that are, like, derivative of Dungeons and Dragons that have, like, taken that format in video games or other tabletop, whatever shit like that. And, like, so I feel like we've seen a lot of this stuff before, but, like, that, it's just something where I think they could have put a little more punch into it. But at the same time, again, there's nothing, it's very difficult to walk away from this movie and be like, wow, they really fucked this up. You know, they fucked this part of the movie up or this factor of the movie up. Like, everything was solid. Like, again, CGI is probably the weakest link of the entire thing, but, like, that's impossible with a movie like this that's on, like, a certain scale to not have a lot of CGI.
Exactly. And you can give it a little bit more. I feel a lot better about giving this movie a little bit of a pass on CGI when it's the first in a franchise, and it probably doesn't have the bankroll to, you know, really fund great CGI the way something like when Marvel Studios puts out bad CGI, it's like, well, you're the biggest movie franchise of all time, backed by the biggest movie studio of all time. It should not look like this. This is like, okay, I get it. The Red Witch also, I didn't care for that old storyline at all. Yeah, I would have been fine if it was just Hugh Grant being greedy.
Yeah,
like, he was awesome in this.
He was really good.
He was having a ton of fun. Yeah,
just hamming it up. Hamming it up.
Yeah, he's been having a lot of fun in these roles lately. Like, he just did that in Gentleman. Him and The Gentleman, Hugh Grant in The Gentleman is one of my favorite roles of, like, the last any crime comedy maybe ever.
He was having a lot of fun.
That was great movie. I love The Gentleman so much. I think I've watched that like 20 times, like as much as any other Guy Ritchie movie, which is crazy because like it's on the plane of like a snatch.
Come on, Ray. Have a drink with me, Ray.
Yeah, he's just making passes at Ray nonstop. So funny. $150 million budget on this, by the way.
Okay, so it made 40 mil domestic opening weekend. So it's
at 71 right now.
Okay,
probably gonna make more, a lot more.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked it pulled in number one at the box office. I would have thought John Wick would have held strong, but John Wick still had a good weekend. It's just, I can't believe this did pull in first overall. I thought this movie would bomb at the box office. Mm-hmm. I just didn't think the audience was.
I think it was going to, if not for word of mouth.
Yeah, I love how the marketing is completely pivoted on this movie, by the way.
Yeah.
It was like, fun family, come out, it's going to be fun. And now it's turned into most surprising movie of the year.
Yeah.
Every single commercial is most surprising movie of the year.
It's just like reading through, like, because I'm on the wiki of the page right now. It's like half this stuff just needs to be a little bit more digestible. It's like, here's Zank after forcing Edgen to swear to distribute the gained booty. He needs to go to Holga's halfling ex-husband in the Underdark to retrieve the helm. It's
can we talk about that?
By the way,
the cameo. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Okay, so spoiler.
That was very funny.
Spoiler alert here. If you haven't watched it yet, make sure that you don't listen to anything further than this. Bradley Cooper was awesome.
That was
very funny.
Anytime you put like a little tiny person, tiny people are just funny. Like he was so
that's my lasting impression of this, even though I almost forgot it.
He was so tiny. And like when they did the zoom in on the handshake, it changed into a baby's hand.
Yep.
It was like a little child's hand.
I feel like he's done this before. Like, this is the third movie I can remember where he just shows up. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? Is this? One was a voice performance because he was in 10 Cloverfield Lane for like half a second. And then he did that movie for Dax Shepard where he had dreadlocks. I think it was called Hit and Run. Do you remember that?
Oh, wow. What a pull.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's. It was like, it's like Monuments Men. Like, when was the last time anyone watched that movie? But yeah, I think that's what it was called.
Hit and Run, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. I think he's friends with someone.
He has to be. I got the impression these directors must know a lot of people because I'm like the script for this ended up being fine, but there's a lot of like pretty high profile people that are in this.
I know one thing I saw on an article or something is that Lauren Balfe, who did the soundtrack for the soundtrack, was awesome. By the way, that's another
they did a good soundtrack.
Yeah. He was a big D&D guy, and he like offered himself up. He's like, I'll definitely do whatever you guys need for this.
How much do you think Vin Diesel tried to worm his way into this movie?
Oh, he wants to. Well, he's got the new Riddick now, so he's set.
But he's the biggest Dungeons and Dragons fan like in the world.
Joe Manganiello is number one for
Oh,
sure.
is that, okay. Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
I'm surprised he wasn't in this, but I'm sure he will be eventually
Yeah.
because this is definitely going to get a sequel. At least I think.
Yeah, I would guess.
Let's see. Main characters from the cartoon make live action cameos during the gladiatorial games. I'm trying to think of what else. This is something, again, it makes me want to know more about this, like more about the world of Dungeons and Dragons. It makes me, I still want to play the game. It's something where I don't know what the entry point is to start playing Dungeons and Dragons because like people have like their setup games and all that stuff. Like I feel like I need to get a group of people who also haven't played to play it. Like I can't just join an existing game because I'd have no fucking clue what's going on.
Okay, so Bradley Cooper is friends with John Francis Daley because they started Kitchen Confidential together.
Okay, it's clicking now.
Yeah, apparently they filmed that whole scene like separate. Like Michelle Rodriguez had no clue that that was Bradley Cooper until
that's kind of funny actually.
After the movie. Apparently they filmed it with a different. I guess it was supposed to be a different actor.
Tiny guy.
It was a different actor, and then I guess that person couldn't do it, and so they switched it.
Let's see.
Wow. And it was supposed to be a spoof of Lord of the Rings. Like it was supposed to be a spoof of Gandalf and the Hobbits.
Oh, I didn't know this. So apparently Goldstein was supposed to direct The Flash for DC. And then when he left that's when he and John Francis Daley ended up on Dungeons and Dragons. Huh. It all worked out. But apparently, I guess so, since Flash is going to be amazing as well.
I mean, and also like, I'm sure they're happy they didn't have to deal with that fucking mess.
Yeah, I know.
Despite it end up apparently being good, like I can't imagine the years that have come off of Andy Muschietti's life dealing with this fucking movie.
Poor Andy Muschietti.
Andy Muschietti.
And he's Argentinian. That's a weird, but I guess he's Australian, Argentinian, whatever. What else do we have? Or what else does DC have? They have Aquaman.
Yeah, Aquaman.
Is there another one?
Blue Beetle. Trailer dropping in like an hour. Which interesting character. I mean, it's a really cool character. If you've ever watched Young Justice, it's like their Iron Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like a younger Iron Man. Jaime Reyes.
Yeah.
He's a cool character. It's just like I'm surprised. I'm very surprised that when it was announced, I was like, oh, this is one of those things that they're going to announce and then it'll end up on the back burner. And then sooner or later, people will just forget about it and they'll just be like, oh, yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
They followed through with it. The behind the scenes pictures have always looked very cool. The suit looked awesome, very practical. We'll see how this trailer looks.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that and some other trailers on Long Take on Friday.
A ton of stuff dropping this week. We got that first full Barbie trailer, not just that little teaser. And we have a full Spider-Verse trailer coming as well. So a ton of stuff.
Hopefully
week.
another
I feel like they've
Extraction
been
trailer.
putting out trailers for that for like 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it got delayed, a big delay.
Oh, it did? Okay.
But yeah, we'll be talking about all that on Friday. We'll save Succession for that too. I don't want to really go over it without Jeff on board because this is his thing, really. So we could save all that. We could save the Succession talk for Friday, unless I don't have a ton I want to like share on it other than I could just wait for Friday. Like, I'm not dying to talk about it.
It was I mean, general response, good episode. The karaoke scene. The karaoke stuff is fucking hilarious to me.
Very funny.
Dude, I feel bad for Leonard Cohen. What Connor did to his song.
Got destroyed.
Dude, it was so bad. Connor just wanted to sing karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he wanted to do. He's such a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that was a great episode of like a full episode of what's her name? Bluth in Arrested Development being like what's a banana cost $10 or whatever, something like that. That was like a full episode.
It's so frustrating how stupid every fucking character is. And then the one smart character is just the biggest piece of shit in the world. Like Logan is the only smart one. I guess Roman is too, but he doesn't have a spine.
Yeah. His new haircut looks good.
Yeah, it does.
It's good haircut this season.
He looks hot.
But we'll come back on Friday and we'll talk about that. But that's episode 92. We'll be back with the bracket and then LCB on Friday. See you guys next time.